After seeing action in several wars, the HMS Jersey was anchored in Wallabout Bay in present-day Brooklyn and turned into a prison ship during the American Revolution. More Americans died as prisoners of war on board the Jersey than on the battlefields during the entire war. Actually, possibly more than double. Its nickname was Hell. Yeah, let's talk about it. The HMS Jersey was launched in 1736 and did not see her first action until 1739 in the War of Jenkins' Ear. And yes, the war started because a British captain, technically he was Welsh, named Robert Jenkins had his ear cut off by a Spaniard. The ship was damaged rather badly in battle in 1745, but they made her as good as new. The Jersey then fought as part of the 7 Years' War, most notably at the Battle of Lagos. Eventually, in 1771, the ship was converted to serve as a hospital ship, and near the end of 1779, early 1780, the Jersey was made into a prison ship, also known as a prison hulk. Not that kind of prison hulk. Yes, that kind of prison hulk. See, the British had an issue of finding places to put prisoners, especially prisoners of war, when they're a small island without a whole lot of free land available. And yes, they sent many of their prisoners off to colonies like America and Australia, but in the 18th and 19th centuries, about 40 ships were hulked out and made into prisons. How? Well, first they were hulked. Hulk meaning to take a seaworthy vessel and make it, well, not seaworthy. The sailing and navigational equipment were all removed, and in some cases the ship itself was beached. The British set up the hulk that was the Jersey in Wallabout Bay, and typically it held around 1,100 prisoners at a time, though the ship was only meant to hold about 400. They averaged 8 deaths per day. Some were actually buried on the shore, while a good number were simply thrown overboard. And to be fair to the English, they did not discriminate in seeing their prisoners as less than human. White or black, American, German, African, whatever, they were all put in together and all seen as, again, less than human. Starvation, disease, and beatings ran rampant throughout the Jersey. I guess you can kind of say that about New Jersey. Due to horrible conditions, and though the estimated dead varies between 8,000 and 20,000 people, it's typically agreed on that around 11,500 prisoners died on board. Now, if you compare that to the 4,435 American deaths that occurred on all the battlefields combined, yeah, you should see the issue. Eventually, Cornwallis surrendered at Yorktown, the war began to wind down, and in November 1783, the British evacuated New York. They also abandoned and burned the Jersey, though I can't seem to find definitive proof one way or the other as to whether they released the prisoners before doing so. This wouldn't be the end of British prison ships, though. They used them throughout the 18th and 19th centuries and in the British Isles as well as the rest of the world, several being used in Australia. They used them in the First World War, and in the 1970s a prison ship was used in Northern Ireland to hold prisoners during the Troubles. The last British prison ship closed in 2006. Nazi Germany also used a small fleet of prison ships as concentration camps, both converted military vessels and passenger liners. This fleet was destroyed by a British bombing raid, and yes, the prisoners were still on board. But no, the British didn't know that at the time. As for over here in the States, the bones of the dead thrown overboard had collected along the shores of the bay, and according to accounts, they stuck out of the ground all over the place. The amount of skulls scattered everywhere being referred to as a pumpkin patch. Eventually, workers would collect all the bones and inter them, and a memorial was erected in honor of the memory of those that died, which fell into disrepair and was replaced with the current one. Oh, and as far as Americans using prison ships, this is the Vernon Bain Correctional Center. It's a prison ship currently in use in New York City. Yep, not too far away from where the Jersey was.